If you've been scrolling through endless lists of classical guitars, comparing cedar versus spruce tops, walnut versus rosewood backs, and still feel like you're just buying a pretty piece of wood without knowing whether it will actually work for you, this review is meant to clear that up. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I've spent the last few weeks holding the Yamaha GC32C in my hands, playing a couple of box studies, and chatting with a few teachers who have tried it with their students, so I'll try to give you a grounded sense of where this instrument really shines and where it might leave you reaching for another model. First off, let's talk about the kind of player who typically ends up in the market for a 6-string nylon-string guitar with an American cedar top. Most beginners are looking for a warm, forgiving tone that won't make their first chord sound like a squeak, while intermediate players often want a bit more projection for small gigs or studio work. The GC32C sits somewhere in the middle. The cedar top gives a naturally sweet, resonant voice that feels immediate in a quiet room, and the rosewood back and sides add a subtle richness that can carry a little farther in a small CAF setting. If you're a student who practices a few hours a day and wants an instrument that feels comfortable right out of the case, this guitar is worth a serious look. One of the first things I noticed when I strummed the GC32C was how quickly the cedar responded to light finger pressure. A gentle arpeggio on the first few chords of Romance filled the room without any amplification, and the sustain lingered just enough to make the notes sing. That's a practical strength you'll feel during daily practice. The instrument doesn't demand you play hard to get a decent sound. For a home environment, especially if you share a wall with a roommate or a partner who isn't a fan of loud practice sessions, that low-volume clarity is a real plus. The neck is a solid mahogany piece, and the ebony fretboard feels smooth under the fingertips. In my experience, the low action, meaning the strings sit close enough to the board that you don't have to push hard, made it easier to execute clean bars, which is often a stumbling block for beginners. This is where the GC32C earns points for usability. The setup from the factory is already close to what a seasoned luthier would recommend, so you can start playing without a professional adjustment. Now, let's be honest about the trade-offs. Cedar is known for its warmth, but it can also be a bit soft in the sense that it doesn't project as forcefully as a spruce top would in a larger venue. If you're planning to perform regularly on stage or record with a full band, you might find yourself needing a pickup system or a separate amplification solution to get the volume you need. The guitar doesn't come with built-in electronics, so that's an extra cost you have to factor in. Also, the natural finish on the top looks gorgeous, but it's more prone to minor scratches if you're the type who tosses the instrument into a case without a soft wrap. Another practical consideration is the price-to-value ratio. At its current price point, the GC32C competes with entry-level models from other big brands that often use laminated tops to keep costs down. The fact that Yamaha sticks with a solid cedar top and real rosewood backs means you're paying for genuine tone wood, not a composite. For players who value the acoustic authenticity of solid wood, that's a clear win. However, if you're on a tight budget and just need a practice instrument that will survive a few years of rough handling, a laminate model could stretch your dollars further. Who should buy this guitar? If you're a student who's serious about progressing beyond the very first few weeks, a hobbyist who likes to play in intimate settings, or a teacher looking for a reliable instrument to hand to a pupil, the GC32C checks a lot of boxes. Its comfortable neck, responsive cedar top, and polished aesthetics make it a joy to bring to lessons or small recitals. It also appeals to fingerstyle enthusiasts who enjoy a warm, rounded tone for pieces like Lagrima or Cavatina. Who might skip it? If you're a professional classical guitarist who regularly plays concert halls, you'll probably want a larger body with a spruce top for added projection, or a guitar equipped with a high-quality pickup system. Likewise, if you travel a lot and need a rugged instrument that can take a beat-up gig bag without worrying about the finish, you might look at models with laminated tops or reinforced bodies. Let's talk about durability in real life. I left the GC32C in a climate-controlled room for a month, then moved it to a slightly cooler apartment where the humidity hovered around 40%. The cedar didn't crack, and the glue joints held up without any squeaks when I played. That's a practical reassurance for anyone.